The top three things in my mind for anyone, a manager, an employee, to stimulate innovation, to utilize innovation in the workplace, whether it be a business process or a technical activity, doesn't really matter. You have to be curious. Curiosity is really what matters. Remaining curious, not being satisfied, always being curious. And I've found that that works as an employee. It works as a leader in an organization. It works for you personally to always be curious. Helps you grow, helps you ask questions you would not normally ask. Which leads me to the second one, is asking questions. Always asking questions. I kind of have a reputation for extending the length of meetings because I ask a lot of questions. And it's not for any bad reason. It's that A, I'm curious, but B, I want to make sure that enough questions are being asked that we can tease out the issues and make sure that everybody in the room speaks up on those issues and answering those questions maybe. And you may catch something, you may miss something, or you may reinforce something. Yeah, we've asked that question several times, and we've studied it pretty hard, and we think we understand what it is. I think the third thing is, I call it the Ferris Bueller philosophy, and that is the world's moving pretty fast. And if you don't stop and look around once in a while, you might miss it. And I think we heard earlier in the presentations today that there is a lot going on in human spaceflight and spaceflight in general and science and research. There is enormous explosions in, no pun intended, in human spaceflight activity, rocketry. There's so much going on that you don't assume that everybody who's doing that knows what they're doing. There's a lot going on. Be curious, ask questions. The third angle that you should always take is to be open to things outside your swim lane. Be open to things outside your discipline. Use the first two things that I listed, curiosity and asking questions, and apply it to the third thing that I'm talking about, and that is being open to things that aren't in your wheelhouse. You know, I got a bachelor's degree in environmental engineering. On the ground, that makes all kinds of sense. But my first job was as a systems test engineer at the Kennedy Space Center on the Space Shuttle toilet. So here we have an environmental engineering function being performed in zero gravity, going 17,500 miles an hour around the Earth. It's a little outside of my comfort zone. It's not exactly a waste treatment plant and outside somebody's city. But being open to different angles and different possibilities. I give examples all the time of where we have used in testing or troubleshooting. We used a tool that was valuable or popular or well-known in another discipline in order to help our discipline succeed. One example I could give you is the Space Shuttle main engines. When they were tested as a unit, the method of testing was to pressurize the engines and then measure the flow of the test gas out of the sides of the aft section of the orbiter. Because that's the only way you could do it in that closed environment. Well, we had a leak on the flash evaporator system, a water system, non-propulsive, essentially. And we decided that in order to test that for external leakage, we'd use the same test procedure or the test approach that the propulsion people used for the Space Shuttle main engines. Now, one did not have anything to do with the other in terms of discipline, in terms of responsibility, in terms of subsystem performance. But being open to different ways of testing allowed us to come up with a leak test procedure where we could test that system on a regular basis, fairly non-impact, and make sure that we weren't flying with a hole in the system. And it was all about being open to the possibility of some other way of doing something, some other discipline, some other approach, some other subsystem.